In this episode of Spearlift, we're going to discuss how soul coaching can help provide deep healing in your life. It can also create a path forward that you are happy with and you deserve. So stay tuned. Lisa, I'm curious to know, how can soul coaching really help someone who's been suffering with having lost someone in their life, maybe been separated from a situation that has caused them a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, a lot of anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. This idea of being detached from something or someone and not being able to completely recover or heal through it. So how can soul coaching help address that?
What soul coaching does, it actually takes you to the place where you're feeling that pain and that trauma. And a lot of times, a lot of people are feeling a lot of stress right now because of being in lockdown, and now we're coming out. And as you know, when you're going through something, a lot of times you're feeling go, 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 and you don't stop and feel and really accept the pain that you've been through and saying, like, I need to heal this part of myself. So what it does, it basically tells you to stop. Okay, we're going to accept the pain. We're going to feel it. We're going to take it apart, and then we're going to heal it. Because until you accept that what you've gone through isn't your fault and it's just something that's inside you that needs to be treated, then it's really hard to move past it. And you're going to carry it through to other situations in your life. It can trigger you whenever something similar comes up.
It's interesting that you describe it in that way, because the thing is, what we seem to do in that sort of situation is just put it in the closet. We don't address it, and then it becomes this stuck energy, unfortunately. And then it haunts us and haunts us and haunts us. And so, Lisa, again, it's a pleasure to have you on Spearlift again for a second time. We loved, a lot of the viewers really loved our discussion last time around Reiki. You're expert as it comes to Reiki. So I encourage everyone to check out the other video we did with Lisa about Reiki itself, which is incredibly interesting and very important for overall being and healing and everything like that as well. And I'm curious, can we go into more detail then? Just to define, what is soul coaching, and why did you get interested into this whole theme, and what drove you towards wanting to be soul coaching? Yeah.
Well, actually, it's been really interesting because as part of Reiki healing, people would come to me with a lot of physical symptoms or emotional pain. And while we're going through the session, I was starting to uncover from my conversations with them that a lot of it was really triggered by something that had happened in their past. For instance, we were talking about being in lockdown. A lot of people had a feeling of loss, of being isolated. And they may not have think about it in the context of being abandoned at another time in their life. And the thing is, that pain is carrying through to today. So when I started to do soul coaching, it was really helping them find the place where that pain started in their past. And sometimes you don't even know. It could have been a breakup. It could have been your parents getting divorced and never seeing one of your parents again. And that feeling is something that maybe you pushed really deep inside you. So what I do is I walk them through the situation so that they can find where that feeling started in their life, and then go through up to the present day and every other time where they felt it. And then just help them explore that feeling and that situation and become empowered and confront it. And when they confront it, that's when they are able to heal it and move forward and deal with what's happening with them in the present day.
How easy or challenging is it that you find with your patients that confronting those past issues is easy to speak about or not easy to speak about, right? Because for myself personally, when I've tried to do that with certain, things that have happened in my life, it just like I get so choked up and emotional. I think that's kind of why I started this interview out kind of choking up, because I know kind of in my mind already and reliving certain previous events that they kind of just stop you. Like they paralyze you, right? And even if I am trying to do that now, when I'm thinking about this thing that affected me and that thing affected me, it's all coming to me all at once right now. It just, what it does like physically to my body is just cram it up, right? I just like, you become incoherent, you lose train of thought and being, etc., right? So like how do you, with soul coaching, how do you guide people to really I guess in a way have the courage to actually confront it, and then how do they eventually start getting through to the healing process?
So it's really important to start with creating a safe space for them where they feel comfortable speaking with you and also with how they're feeling. So really the first step is identifying where they're holding this pain in their body. And a lot of times I'll just say, I want you to think about where, if I was to say to you, where are you hurting right now? Just intuitively place your hand somewhere on your body. And, people, sometimes they put it on their heart or sometimes they put it on their head. And that leads me to understand which chakra is holding this pain for them. And then we work through an exercise. Let's give it a name. And then when they give it a color and they give it a feeling and a sensation, and it just encompasses and it becomes a symbol for this feeling that they have. And really, you're taking this object and you're carrying it through your past to these events. But it's so important that they are not re-traumatized. And so I'm very much aware if they're getting to a place where it's really harmful to them, that we stop before we even get there. So it's really so important that you establish this place of trust with them and that they are okay with going backwards.
Is it possible as well though? Like if you help them, let's say it's an issue with one of their parents, right? Like someone had a traumatic experience with one of their parents growing up. You help get them to a place where they feel like a stone has been taken off their chest. But how then, if they confront in whatever situation later on with that parent who caused that certain trauma to them, how do they not then, let's say, because they'll have to face them, I'm sure, eventually or inevitably, right? So do you give them sort of advice as to how to mitigate that situation when confronted with it again, or how does that work?
So basically what it's like, so say you have a particular situation. So we try to come up with an event that encapsulates what they're feeling. So say they remember this situation, say they're arguing with somebody. So they become sort of an observer of what's going on. And then and then through this session, they're empowered and we make them bigger and larger and an observer. And it's almost like they're watching a movie and we're like, okay, we're going to change it just a little bit. And you're going to be part of it. And you're going to be talking to this person. You're going to be telling them how you feel and how this situation has impacted you. But because you're the director of the movie, you're also going to listen to them as well. And you're going to hear them apologize to you, because that's what your mind is going to believe, that they were acting as the best way that they possibly could. And that will give you a feeling of healing. And it's hard to sometimes think about with somebody, especially, and when you're dealing with someone who suffered severe abuse. Now that's a situation where I feel that they would be better served by somebody who has a medical degree. Somebody who's suffering deep trauma is not something that I would even try to impact, but we're talking more situations that were not incredibly deeply damaging to them physically and emotionally.
And does soul coaching also involve, let's say, because maybe many people out there rely too much on certain people, relationships, external stimuli to fill the void in their life to actually make them feel happy. Like maybe it's like 80 or 90% of what they believe that makes them who they are, their own identity, versus who they truly are, right? So does soul coaching also involve kind of guiding them to help discover who they are and really embrace their own self-love as well?
Absolutely. And that's really the key to it all, because I want them to realize that the only person that they can control is themselves. You can't control other people. You can only control how you react to them. So once you give up the idea that you can change the way someone's behaving or change the way someone's acting, then that's very freeing. And you say, yeah, I'm not responsible for them. They're responsible for them. And once you do that, then you can truly concentrate on yourself, because believing in yourself and loving yourself first, that's the first step towards healing. And that's the first step to creating the life that you want.
No, absolutely. And, I think it always, at all times, has to be about you, not in a selfish way, but you understanding you, your love for yourself, your love for being alive, being created, being part of everything we're experiencing together. And I emphasize that point quite a bit on Spirit Lift, just because it's, from my point of view, and just talking about this issue with many other people, is like, once you work from the inside, then you share it to the outside, and it can become whatever you desire to become in a way, but like it can become a beautiful thing or a total train wreck. One way or the other, it's going to go somewhere. But
absolutely, right?
Well, yeah. And so that has to do, maybe we're talking more about the soul coaching idea around maybe situations, people who exist now, but what if so how do you approach that with someone then with soul coaching if they've lost somebody and are just detached from them? How is that process?
So it's really, again, the feeling of how did this situation make you feel? And we go through the situation, we go through the feeling of loss, we go, giving them permission to feel the way they want to, and saying that, it's okay for you to feel this pain, even though, later on in the soul coaching, we have a session where we talk with spirit guides and we talk how they can help them communicate with somebody who's passed on and how this person is bringing the messages. But it's still okay to feel a loss of not having them with you on this earth. And I think a lot of times people feel like they need permission to feel what they're feeling. You're like, you don't have to be the strong one. You don't have to be the stoic one. And getting them to the point where they know that they're going to be okay. And that's really the point of healing. You're going to be okay.
No, that's a really good point. And is it, from all the work you've done, Lisa, and especially because you also incorporate a lot of Reiki, I know, that's one
Absolutely.
of your specialties, is there such thing as, let's say, faking it till you make it kind of idea? What I mean by that is, if we are feeling absolutely anxious or absolutely depressed or absolutely just out of the loop with our general feeling and engagement with life, should we pretend to be happy? Should we pretend to push ourselves into a situation to want to feel better? Like, I'm trying to talk about that almost energetically, is like, is trying to force a type of way of being or energy, even when it doesn't feel like how you naturally feel authentically now. Is that worth doing, or could it lead to issues down the road?
Well, I'm not a big fan of spiritual bypassing, which is really just be positive all the time and, ignore the bad things going on in your life and they'll go away.
Exactly.
I'm not a big fan of that. And that's why I do feel that you have to accept them and feel them before you can heal them. But I think once you've confronted those issues and the healing process has started, then the shift is to, it's almost like a gratitude shift. Telling people to focus on the positive things in their life so that it's authentic what they're feeling. I'll often tell people to create a gratitude journal. And even if the first couple of days you're struggling to write one thing, maybe you're grateful because you woke up in the morning and the sun was shining, or you were able to hear the birds singing. So it's just little tiny pieces of gratitude. But then when you see them all together, you're like, every single day I had something that made me happy. Maybe I had a great meal. Maybe a friend checked in with me. So it's trying to get that authentic feeling of gratefulness instead of pretending that you're grateful.
I think that is a very important point you're making because, honestly, for myself included, is that one of the things that I but one of the things I do desire kind of each and every day is just to completely feel authentic with what's going on with me. And I that might sound bizarre, but I feel it for me that's true. It's like, because there might be certain conversations or things I'm doing that I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be great. I'm doing great, and it's gonna be amazing, this talk, and then I'm kind of like, is that true? Like maybe I'm lying to myself, So, but it's not because I'm trying to be. I always want the best for every situation and the best for every sort of. I'm always trying to have, as much as I can, a positive outlook on life. But I know at the same time, like the natural feeling I have is like, that's not true. Like something within me is like, that's not true. For me, I kind of just, as much as possible, want things to become the way that they are. Right? I don't know how to explain that better than that. It's just like I want to accept and be content with what is, right? And embrace that.
Yeah.
Because I think for me that's almost a sense of nirvana. Like, because if you're just aware and you know what is and you embrace that and you have no illusion about it, I think it can lead to a deeper sense of peace. Am I wrong in saying that, in your opinion?
I think you're absolutely right. It's just kind of like, okay, to me, one of the most powerful things you could say to somebody who's going through a tough time is to say, that really stunk, didn't it? That was terrible. Like, I'm not going to try to put a positive spin on it. I'm not going to say that you had a lesson you needed to learn. It stunk. And that's what it was, and accepting it for what it was helps you heal, because you're like, I don't feel like this was a positive, if you're saying to yourself, I don't think this was positive. I don't think there was anything good to be gained by it. I don't think that I needed to go through this. It was just not good. I didn't like it. And there's no reason for me to reframe it into something that it's not.
No, absolutely. And I always bring in that idea, and like I talk about on the channel sometimes, is that idea of perception, right? I think perception is really just, in a way, the charters, the vast sea that we never explore enough to really understand the depth of it, if that makes sense. Because as a topic, because I think the perception of everything that we're doing at all times has to be understood more profoundly, not in a weird analytical way, but as far as just, again, going back to that energy of, am I content? Is this good for me? Is this bad? Like you said, is this is not like this, and just really just having clarity in that way, right? And not just,
life is
difficult.
It is difficult. Yeah, and don't let anyone tell you differently. It's funny because it's kind of crazy, but a lot of times people feel like you get to this feeling of when you reach enlightenment, you're not going to start being like this person who's like incredibly happy all the time. You're still going to have difficult times. It's just that you have a way of looking at them.
You know what enlightenment is?
Helps you.
Yeah. And enlightenment for me too is like understanding, like at this point, like if I'm getting a good deal on the pizza I just ordered versus the sandwich, that, and having clarity. But also, like, so with most of the patients that come to you for soul coaching, Lisa, what is it mainly that people like that are trying to seek out, like in general, especially what's affecting them in their life? Like, what is, I don't want to name names or anything.
Yeah, sure.
Like, what is the typical person who would go to you and say, hey, Lisa, I need a soul coaching session with you, maybe Reiki as well, because this is going on in my life and I can't handle it anymore. What is that? What is the type of issues people are coming to you with?
The undercurrent feeling is that things are happening to them that they have no control over. That's really in relationships, in jobs, in their health. They feel like they're not an active participant. So like, they want to be in this relationship and the other person maybe isn't meeting them halfway, or maybe it's rocky and they're pouring everything they can into it and they can't do anything about it, or maybe they lost a job or they were laid off. So it's really trying to get that feeling of control back. Mm-hmm. And as well as I do, there is no way you can control situations.
It's hard. Like, believe me, like I that is my biggest problem, I think. Yeah. I just, I always want things a certain way, and part of my brain is just way overly organized, I think, but that leads to, and I've said it a few times on different episodes, like OCD issues, just like, and that can lead to a lot of, agitation, for yourself and how you affect others. So that's definitely, and I need to get into the flow somehow more and more, and it's an important, and let's go back really quick as we're talking about flow with gratitude, if we can thread back onto that theme really quick, because, and the reason being is because you started speaking about it. And I think for me personally, and I know other people, were having some sort of, let's call it, practice of gratitude throughout the day can really, really lighten you up in a sense.
Yes.
But it can also create certain moments, from my own experience, of like synchronicity or just serendipity or just lovely things that happen throughout the day. And it kind of, it is almost like a grease on the wheels, right? It kind of just makes one part of your day flow into the other one with ease, So let's go into that a little bit. Like, for me, that works, not all the time, but certainly sometimes does. How because you understand this idea of gratitude and the energy behind it, like how does gratitude really make our life that much, I would say, better in a way, if it's incorporated into our day-to-day being and like practice, for lack of a better word?
It's funny. I feel like if you start the day off happy, if you're like, I just counted my blessings and wow, I'm so lucky. And you walk outside and you have this huge smile on your face, and someone's walking towards you and you say hi to them and you smile at them, or you compliment them on something, and they walk away and they're feeling good. And then they pass it along to somebody else, and you've created this chain reaction of happiness. Yeah. And that's going to come back to you again. And that's really, I think it's changing the energy. It changed your energy and it changed the energy of your surroundings. And then you're just like, wow, this is great. One of the people went to the guy at the ice cream stop that I'm going to, and he was so happy and so grateful. He gave me an extra scoop of ice cream because he was feeling so good because someone just complimented him today.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just happen to be the recipient of his feeling so good about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I think it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. It has like a chain reaction in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And what is, I don't know, like just thinking about that a little bit more, actually, I think it can, in a way, like, because part of my daily routine, just to mention this, is I try to spend personally, before even speaking with my wife in the morning, I wake up a little bit earlier before I'm doing a lot of the chore related things for the day itself. Like, I try to at least up to an hour each and every morning have it to myself, like alone. And I think for me, that's become more and more important because
Mm-hmm.
I have to, like, it involves drinking. I drink water right away to help wake up and get my system kind of going, boot it up. I stretch each and every day. And then I spend time between, I always call it prayer meditation, because they're different things. They're different ways of doing things. For me, meditation's just being completely void and let information come into me if necessary or not. Just like total silence. Prayer is more of the speaking aspect of it, but it's your own version of that, whatever works for you. So that's how I start my day. And then the reason I do that is just because then it gets me into a certain state of being that carries me on throughout the whole day, despite whatever's going on. It's like my compass, right?
Right.
So I have like this compass of how it keeps me steady at that's the word I'm looking for. It keeps me steady, like doing that, right? And it seems to last most of the day. So when I'm faced with a difficult situation, when I'm faced with when I'm in a happy situation, it augments it, but it keeps me steady. That's the best way I can describe it. And the nice thing is that I've been doing that almost every day for years now, that especially in the moments where I feel triggered, and I think this is really important, where I feel triggered when I'm about to get a little, angry or something like that, something goes off inside of me that lets me know I should breathe more deeply, right? That I should breathe more deeply, and that I should take a pause, and I should try to relax a bit and then go into that situation. That's not always worked out the best in every situation, but it has definitely served its purpose in others.
Sure.
So I think, just for anyone listening to this out there, or watching, I would definitely recommend something like that. But how, in your opinion then, Lisa, like, especially after people come and see you, this is the point I'm trying to get at, like, after people come and see you and have time and a session with you, like, what are sort of the things they can go away with and then do on their own to really confront this in more on their personal time, or practices they can do at home to make them feel okay?
I'm a very big believer in mantras. And usually after sessions, I'll give people some mantras that I have that came up for me intuitively while I was working on them. And mantras are great because it's such an easy way to set your intention for the day and get you into a positive frame of mind, and just say, this is who I'm going to be today. And I think it's something that people feel comfortable doing because it's easy. It's something that they don't have to devote a lot of time to yet. And it's really, for me, I've seen a lot of people shift with just doing them maybe 5 times a day for a week. I just said, when I send them off, I'll say, just do this every day this week, 5 times a day, and let me know how you feel by the end of the week. And they always feel a difference.
That's really important, because is mantras the same as affirmations, or are those different?
Yes, they're
same.
Yes, absolutely the same.
Okay, yeah, I think that's really important, because it becomes like something, and actually creates this like sort of type of memory inside of you that you remember you have to do it. It becomes like something of importance to you in a way, right?
Yes.
So I think the more, and again, like these, I think with all these things, you really got to stay dedicated to it, right?
Yes.
You got to continue with it. You got to be disciplined in a way that it's part of, you know, eating and drinking and everything else that you're doing all day, you know?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's you know, once you start your path, your spiritual path, it's hard.
It is. People get this idea like, oh, spirituality, like floating on the stars and you know, playing air guitar all day or whatever, and eating. I love pizza, so I was eating pizza all day. I don't know, you know, but it's just, you know, I honestly, I think the spiritual journey and spirituality and everything of that nature, it is the more difficult path, right? Because
absolutely,
you're making a conscious effort of knowing how to live, why to live. It's not all based on compulsive related drivers, and you're seeking for, you know, the deeper meaning or meaning behind life itself. So everything we're doing is not easy in the least. It's the opposite. So
yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, "You heal from your own wounds."
Yeah.
I think that's so profound and beautiful, because you can only share what you've experienced.
That's true. And you are your own best teacher in that way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
No, that's incredible. Lisa, just to conclude this amazing episode with you. And I'm really, it's an honor to have you back on Spearlift. And
I love being here.
People really loved the first episode we had with you with Reiki, and so important for so many people, and they're going to love this one, I'm sure. And just to conclude, what is it that you would, you know, say to people like really who've lost someone or just really facing a difficult time, and just have like in this moment, if they're listening or watching this, they have I mean, I can only describe it in a physical way, like they just have that trapped contractual energy inside of them that they just feel just so stuck. Like what would just be some nice words of advice or just you know, insight for them at this moment?
I would tell them that what you're going through isn't your fault, and that you're going to be okay, and that you can heal.
So important. And that hope is not lost, right?
No, all hope is not lost. And, you know, I think it's so important for people to know that as you are right now, you are perfect. You know, you may feel that you're going through a lot and you have pain, but you're still a good, decent, worthy person, no matter what you're going through.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really, really beautiful thing that as well people can little by little learn to understand that they are. I mean, when someone hears that they are perfect, they may not know what that means. They may not know if there is something deeper to that. But I think if, again, and this is why as well, just in relation to what you just said, that's why I always reference as well the book Al-Makada by the John O'Donohue, Irish author.
Yes.
He wrote the book, beautiful book, and it's just kind of the journey of the discovery of oneself, right? And I just think I read that book at least once a year, and really becomes I think the most important part of your life, right? I mean, you have your wife, you have your husband, whoever it may be, your family, your friends, and everything else, but really when you know what's going on inside of you, you know, that becomes such a beautiful journey, and the ultimate journey, I think. And then you share it with the world, right?
Absolutely. It all starts with you.
Yeah, and it leads to that insight of what you said, like we're all perfect. So Lisa, you're located in the United States, but can people still connect with you remotely to do soul sessions, any of the work of soul coaching?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm still doing things virtually. My website is enlightenedpathhealing.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Enlightened Path Healing. Perfect. Those are the two best ways to reach out to me. And I love to connect with people, and people are welcome to send me a direct message on Instagram or send me a message through my website. I'm always here to help.
Perfect. So we're going to include all Lisa's information in the description, the pinned comments, and the show notes. So really, if anyone is just generally feeling, I get choked up even talking about it, because maybe I got to deal with issues too. But really, if anyone's just going through a difficult time in their life, they just are not feeling well, they're feeling really anxious, they have this feeling inside of them that just is crushing them, reach out to Lisa, right? We're going to include all of her information.
Yes.
You can book a session with her, and she can, get you on this incredible path through soul
Thank
coaching.
you.
Lisa,
I
until
will
next
walk the
time.
path with you.
Yes. No, and you I know without a doubt that you'll certainly help so many people if they, work with you, and that, just turn their life around. And we look forward to you having on the next episode, Lisa. I thank you so incredibly much. Thank you so much for the work you do and the impact you're having on this world. And thank you for being on this episode.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And we will see you all on the next episode, and take care, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.